She awoke to a chilly sensation streaming down her throat. The gymnasium was empty. The lights flickered and created lengthy shadows across the gymnastics mats. Marnie lay on the floor, her knee aching from hot iron torture. Above her dangled a pyramid. Not the one she'd fallen from. Another one. Human. 10 sets of eyes gazed down. 10 sets of arms were crossed across their chests. They all donned black masks. "You've lost," a voice stated. Then the pyramid started to tumble. Marnie Covington disliked being new. It usually began the same way, an empty school corridor. Hundreds of pairs of frigid eyes glided over her physique, analyzing and deciding her position in the hierarchy. She had visited 5 schools in the previous 3 years. A military parent seldom stayed at one post for long. Wildwood High was no exception, with the same yellow-red leaves outside the windows, the odor of disinfection from the gym, and the delicious perfume of chocolate from the broken machine gun near the stairs. She spent the first 2 days quietly observing. Girls with high ponytails and flawless cosmetics. Boys on the football squad smelled like deodorant and masculinity. Her teachers had already assigned her the character of the quiet, weird new girl. On day 3, Ashley Graves contacted her. Cheerleader captain. School queen. Blonde with frigid blue eyes, like ice crystals in a drink. She paused in front of Marnie, blocking the light from the window, and Marnie took a step back. "You're tall," Ashley commented. "I am not asking." Stating. Marnie was quiet. Flexible. "I did gymnastics," Marnie muttered. Ashley glanced her up and down before smiling. It was not a welcoming grin. It was the smile of a chess player who has seen the ideal move. "You're excellent for the pyramid." The gym smelled like matting and perspiration. The initial pyramid was basic, with 3 tiers. Marnie was positioned at the very top. She could feel the girls' hands under her quivering with anxiety, their sticky fingers pushing into her calves. "Don't hesitate," Ashley said quietly, stepping to the side. Marnie concentrated. She raised her hands. She took a breath. Then she heard laughing. Quiet. Evil. The toes of her right foot instantly opened. The world flipped. Air rushes into her lungs. Something sharp poked her on the side. She slumped on the mat, panting for air. Then she heard a scream. Ashley lay 10 feet away, moaning in anguish and clutching her arm, which was twisted at an unnatural position. "You pushed me," she hissed. Marnie didn't have to glance around to see that everyone had already concluded that was what had occurred. The females on the squad looked at her with hatred. The bus raced to Ashley. Someone murmured from behind, and she did it on purpose. Marnie wished to deny it, to say that she had done nothing. But then she noticed Ashley smiling through her tears of anguish. As if it was only the first move of the game, the gym transformed into a torture dungeon, with every sound echoing in the temples like the sound of a hammer. The balls that boomed out against the walls sounded like gunfire fired by a firing squad. The laughing of the girls on the squad was like sharp shards of glass cutting into the flesh. Marnie trained alone. Her coach assigned her a place adjacent to filthy gym mats that smelled of sweat and sorrow. He gazed at her as if she were contaminated with the disease, disgusted and terrified. Randomness was her regular companion. A glass of water would accidentally drop over into her clothing, causing clear stains that weighted down the fabric. The bathroom door would accidentally latch as she stepped in, and muted laughing could be heard outside. Her footwear accidentally disappeared before practice, leaving her barefoot on the frigid floor. The football players created a new pastime. They lined up like shooters, each holding a bottle in his hand. "I bet you 5 that I'll miss," said the squad captain, his voice filled with phony compassion. The half-liter bottle struck her in the back of the skull with a dull thud. The sweet, sticky liquid poured down her spine, like the touch of some terrible creature's tongue. "Oh, sorry, newbie." He extended his hands in full anguish. "I didn't count." The audience burst out laughing. Marnie did not turn around. She showed no signs of suffering. She calmly knelt down, picked up the bottle, her hands did not shake, which surprised her, and put it into the garbage with dignity. The next morning, her skiff welcomed her in crimson. The paint was viscous, like blood, and had not yet dried. The big letters, "Beater," were meticulously chiseled out. She stood before the decision, gripping her gym bag so tightly that the seams hurt in her palm. The students had already gathered around her. "Wow," someone whistled in the audience, someone got to the army kid. The chemistry instructor passed past with her eyes discreetly down. Her white lab coat fluttered in the air, leaving a trail of formalin and apathy in its wake. Rumors quickly spread. "She's the reason Tyler and Jessica were kicked out. She tipped off the director about drugs at the party. She filmed everything on her phone." The truth is, she mentally chuckled at it. The reality was like her pendant, little, icy, and concealed beneath her t-shirt. Ashley was waiting for her at her skiff. The cast on her arm was snow white, like a bone had broken through the flesh. Dozens of classmates' autographs were vibrant, lively, similar to a cast after a party. "Ashley," Marnie murmured, getting so near she could smell her costly perfume, which had overtones of jasmine and poison. "I didn't push you." Ashley turned gently, as if dancing. Her blue eyes were vacant, as if no one existed behind them. "I understand." 3 words. And the entire universe flipped upside down. "Then why?" "You're new," Ashley said, her lips smiling but her eyes not. "They stayed dead. Rules of the game." She lifted her plastered hand as if to swear, then touched the pendant on her neck. The little pyramid shone like a blade. "Nice to meet you, Covington." She then turned and went away, leaving Marnie alone in the middle of the corridor with thousands of eyes on her. That's how they see the condemned. That's how they view a body. Marnie recognized one thing: the game never ended. She was only getting started. Pulley 217 creaked as if it were alive and groaning in anguish. Marnie froze, the sound eerily similar to the one she had heard in her nightmares the night before. The lock plate, cold and dead, mirrored her terrified visage and transformed it into a caricature. She held out her hand and immediately sensed something was amiss. The bag was active. Its surface pulsed beneath his fingers, warm and sticky, like that of a fevered sufferer. The sticky dampness engulfed his fingertips and clung to his flesh like dried blood. The air around her thickened and filled with a heavy, sweet odor reminiscent of flowers and decaying flesh. Marnie nearly collapsed from sickness due to the strong odor. She tore the lock. Inside there was something that would never fly again. Dove. It had 2 black peas for eyes and they were wide open. They had a fixed face of utter terror. Its beak was slightly ajar, as if the bird intended to shout something at the last minute. But the most horrifying thing was what someone did to his chest. Where there should have been gray feathers, a flawlessly even pyramid gapped. Someone had cut it out expertly and elegantly, as if a surgeon was enjoying the procedure. The wound's edges were even, as if they had been cut with a scalpel rather than a knife. Inside, bones were apparent, white and immaculate, as if clean. Marnie jumped back and smacked her back against the pulley. Her ears rang, black specks hovered before her vision, her heart hammering so hard it seemed like it was about to burst through her chest. "This is a joke," she muttered. But the fragrance of death lingered in the air. She had sticky traces on her fingertips. And in her suitcase was something that would never fly again. Her fingers involuntarily clutched the necklace, a little pyramid that was all that remained of her father. The metal felt especially chilly, as if it was absorbing the entire tragedy of the event. Then she noticed. Another pendant lay on the floor, in a puddle, or was it water? The same one, but with a crack. It glittered as if lighted from within, reflecting the light from the lamps in scarlet bursts. Marnie leaned forwards. The air froze. It felt as if the entire school was holding its breath. Her fingertips contacted the metal, and she nearly shouted. The pendant was hot, like if it had just been removed from a fire. The fissure appeared deeper than before, as if it were severing the pyramid in half, and suddenly there was laughing. Somewhere behind. Ringing. Childish. Marnie turned swiftly. The corridor was vacant. But those shadows. The shadows moved. They reached out from the pulleys like hands attempting to grasp. They crept around the walls like a spider web. They coalesced into a single large black spot, shapeless yet incredibly persistent. She gripped Ashley's pendant so tightly that the rough edge sliced her palm. Blood, warm and alive, oozed between her fingertips. It wasn't a sign. It was a map. A gaming map using live humans as its parts. Where the rules are inscribed in blood. Where victory smells like death. Someone was watching someplace, whether it was the classroom, the stairs, or the lavatory. Waiting. And laughing. Quietly. Angrily. As if they knew exactly how it would all end. As if this were only the beginning. Marnie described the library as smelling like a forgotten world, old volumes that no one had read, wooden shelves creaking beneath the weight of time, and the faint perfume of wax used to clean the floors in the summer. Here, among these shelves locked in forever, she could breathe. The sun's rays filtered through the dusty windows, leaving broad golden stripes on the floor. Marnie was tracing her fingers down the book spines when her nails came into contact with something soft. The diary's leather cover seemed warmer than the other volumes, as if someone had just handled it before burying it. Lisa Mayfield, embossed lettering glistened against the maroon backdrop. The pages opened with a delicate rustling, as if sighing after a long period of imprisonment. The final item was written in shaky handwriting, with letters jumping and banging into one another like scared children. They know. I did not want to murder him. She made me. The pyramid always falls. Marnie turned the page and saw a photograph. 3 teenagers, Lisa with a tight smile, Ashley with a frigid expression on her face, and a lad whose name was written in little black handwriting, Jacob. Last day. The smartphone in her hand seemed unexpectedly weighty. Search for Jacob Wildwood death to you. The first findings were tragedy at Wildwood High, student dies after falling from school roof. Second, the cheerleader died a week after the event. Police are treating this as a suicide. However, the details didn't add up. Marnie discovered a story in the archives of a local newspaper. Lisa was discovered not at home or in a park, but in the school gymnasium. Her body had multiple fractures, as if she had fallen from a considerable height. From the peak of a pyramid. When Marnie turned away from the TV, she saw a pyramid necklace on the table in front of her, its jagged edge pointing at her like a bloody compass needle. Somewhere deep in the classroom, laughing burst out, a harsh, unnatural sound reminiscent of a broken child's toy. Marnie's heart fell. She now understood. Lisa was not leaping. She'd been pushed to fall. They were attempting to compel her to fall right now. The shadows on the library walls appeared unusually lengthy. The air grew dense and difficult to breathe. The chandelier on the table reflected light, creating crimson reflections on the shelves. The pyramid always collapses. And when it does, there is always someone beneath it. The school parking lot in a murky autumn evening seemed like a scene from an unfinished horror film. The wind rustled the yellowed leaves, which rolled under the wheels of the single automobile parked near the gate. A white vehicle, as pristine as its owner, with a gleaming pyramid-shaped necklace in the rearview mirror. Ashley Graves leaned on the hood, her plastered palms seeming white in the faint light like a marble tombstone. She wasn't startled when Marnie emerged from the shadows. "You have read the diary." The voice was as smooth as a razor blade. "This is not a question." A declaration of fact had already become unavoidable. Marnie felt the phone in her pocket suddenly gain the weight of a weapon. She grabbed the case tighter, feeling the cold metal cut into her hand. "What did you do with Lisa?" Ashley grinned. The smile was like a fissure in the ice, thin, treacherous, and concealing an ocean of frigid malice. "We played a game. She lost." Her speech was clear and without hesitancy. It seemed as if she were discussing a trip to the supermarket or schoolwork. "What is the game?" "The pyramid of fear." Ashley took a step forward. Her costly perfume, with undertones of jasmine, blended with the honey aroma of her cast. "Each year, we select one. And we see if it will survive." Marnie backed away, feeling the cold metal of the automobile burn her back. "You're crazy," she murmured, her remarks childishly innocent in light of what she had just heard. Ashley got her phone out without hesitation. The screen flashed up in the darkness, casting a soft blue light on her face. She tapped the screen, and the video began playing. Lisa was standing on the edge of the school roof when the video was recorded. The wind tossed her hair, and tears flowed down her cheeks. She screamed, but there was no sound. She instantly reached out and pushed him. "She didn't want to," Ashley said, shutting off the video. "But the pyramid demands sacrifices." Marnie felt terror flow through her body, pure and primordial, like an animal trapped in a trap. "Why me?" Ashley inclined her head, as if looking at a fascinating exhibit in a museum. "Because you are new. Because you are perfect." Her white sneakers crunched softly on the tarmac as she turned and went away. The automobile doors opened and closed with a quiet click. The engine roared. Marnie stood motionless, feeling something icy slither up her spine. She now knew. The game was underway. And the only way to survive was to avoid being the next one to fall. Pain rushed down her neck in a rapid wave, like if someone had inserted a hot needle into her flesh. Marnie blinked, and the world flipped upside down. The gymnasium. But that wasn't the one she knew. The ceiling appeared taller, the space broader, and the air heavier, permeated with the odor of anxiety and perspiration. The lamps glowed softly, creating strange shadows on the walls that moved like living animals. Figures gathered around her. Motionless. Faceless. Each wore a black mask that covered her face and left just small openings for her eyes. They surrounded her in a ring, motionless and still, like stone sentinels guarding an old temple. A step emerged from the hush. Ashley. Her blonde hair slipped from behind her mask like a gold thread through black velvet. She was holding an ancient rope, with frayed threads that resembled the veins of old leather. The rules are straightforward. Ashley's voice sounded weird, like if it came from the air itself, rather than her throat. You're climbing to the summit. She gave an upward nod. Marnie raised her head. A pyramid. 10 levels. 10 levels of human beings remain immobile like dolls, waiting for the last, live portion. To the absolute top. To the pinnacle. If you fall. Ashley stepped to the side, and Marnie noticed what was laying there. Boards. Wide, rough, with gleaming nails protruding like the fangs of a massive beast. You will perish. Marnie felt her heart beat like a crazed bird in a cage. And if you can stand it. Ashley grinned. Her lips, as crimson as fresh blood, twisted into an unsettling grin. You will become one of us. The air in the hall suddenly felt too heavy. Marnie took another look at the pyramid. At those who made it up. At the masks that covered their faces. She understood. It wasn't just a test. This was a ritual. And she was the final component that completed the system. The last stone of the pyramid. She had to pick between becoming a victim or an executioner. Somewhere in the back of the hall, someone laughed, quietly, femininely, like a bell. The game was beginning. The sun shining through the windows of Wildwood High was deceptively calm. It stroked the ancient masonry of the school, as if attempting to erase the memory of that night. But the stones remembered. They remembered the scream that hung in the air. They remembered the whistling of the wind, broken by the falling corpse. Marnie is no longer scared to be touched. She now touches herself, the shoulders of the new ones, and their books, leaving white envelopes with red sealing wax on the pages. Her jewelry, a little pyramid, has gotten colder and heavier. It draws her down, reminding her of the weight of the decisions she made. The gymnasium is locked. But at night, as the moon shines through the large windows, the shadows on the floor make a recognizable shape. 10 levels. 10 levels. The last one is vacant and waiting. Ashley. She was discovered a week later in the woods outside of the city. Officially, there was an accident. Unofficially, there were whispers in the school halls that her body had been fractured in an unusual way. As if someone had meticulously assembled a human jigsaw but had purposefully jumbled up all the pieces. The letters keep arriving. Not only for Marnie now. They emerge in the drawers of those who know too much. White, tidy, with embossed lettering spelling out the word, waiting. Marnie occasionally sees them, the new ones, peering about timidly with familiar pendants in their palms. She grins at them in the same manner Ashley did. Cold. Calculating. Perfect. Because the pyramid will never fall apart. It merely rebuilds. And everyone who believes they are standing on top of it is already falling. They simply haven't recognized it yet. Something murmurs within the gym, where no one dares to venture after dark. Some whisper, "Who's next?" to others who are willing to listen. And if reading these sentences sent shivers down your spine, know this. The game has already started. And you're already playing it. Even if you haven't realized it yet. After all, the pyramid always collapses. And you are the next tier. Now, tell me. Have you truly never been the new kid in school? Never felt as if everyone around you knew something but didn't tell you? Perhaps you've heard something similar. A game. A option. About those who are constantly on top until they collapse. Share your opinions in the comments. Has this ever occurred to you? Perhaps you've heard rumors of a pyramid in your community or school. Tell us. Someone out there could be searching for answers. Just like Marnie. If this tale gave you shivers, please like, subscribe, and click the bell. Because the next story may be about you. Or about someone who has already reached the top of the pyramid.